What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and as always, thank you for clicking on this video. We're gonna go ahead and talk about Death on the Nile, and of course it is the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express. I have a link to that review in the description, so be on the lookout for that. I just did it yesterday. It was my first time watching it in order to prepare for this, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, Death on the Nile, if you've seen the first one, then you know how this goes. We got Kenneth Branagh coming back as Hercules Poirot, or Hercule, however he pronounces it, as the world's greatest detective. So somebody's gonna get murdered, and it's up to him to solve the mystery. The murder happens on a yacht on this cruise where everyone's in. This movie also started off a little slow, but the setup at least made a little more sense to me, and it's actually a setup where you have to pay attention to the things that go on, because they do make sense towards the end once the murder is solved, once the big reveal happens. We also get a little bit of a flashback, a little bit of background info on the character of Hercule, which added a little bit more development to his character. His character in this movie is actually a little bit more fleshed out, more developed. There's actually some character arc that happens for him in this movie, which also I really liked, because I didn't feel like we really connected with him in the first film. All we knew that he was a detective, but we actually get more on why he is a certain way, and learn a little bit more about what happened to his wife, that he keeps staring at the picture. If you've seen the first film, then you know that he keeps staring at a certain picture of his last lover, his former wife or whatever. And also in the beginning we get the origin story of twerking, because I don't know how it was in the 30s. I don't know what the culture was. It starts off at this like club or something, and literally everyone starts like sexually dancing. I mean, I know that existed probably back then, but I was just shocked to see that people were dancing in a way where we got bodies on the floor, we got booties going up and down on the floor. Like it looks like a modern club of today. So that had me laughing. But then we get to the juicy stuff. They go on this honeymoon, and then it takes a while for the murder to happen, but then once it does, it's not as difficult to follow as the first film. This one, I actually found myself more invested on what's going on, and I can actually point out, and I can actually feel like I'm investigating this case along with Hercule. There's less people that are set to the side without doing nothing, instead of like in the first one where I was like almost half of them were set aside doing nothing. In this film, it was much more interesting. This one, I can actually say that the sequel, it was better than the original. It was much more interesting because we're at a honeymoon. We're in an environment where we're all supposed to have a good time. You know, it's expected to have a good time, and we have a certain character that is pictured like the villain, because this certain character's actions are actions that you don't totally disagree with. You're actually on par, you're actually on board with what this person is doing, because there are people that actually would go to that extent. So you're not completely disagreeing, you're not completely against this person, and you're not completely rooting. I mean, you're rooting for the couple as well, but at the same time you kind of feel bad and root for the other person as well. This film also has more of an element of a horror movie, because after the murder happens, it's not just that and then Hercule goes on investigating and interrogating people. People start actually getting knocked out one after the other. People start dying. It's not the only murder that happens, and the thing that makes it a lot more intense is the fact that they're stuck on this cruise. They have nowhere to go, and people are dying. So I really like that, because that really added to all this tension, that really added to all the drama. Everyone's going nuts, and that reminded me a little bit of The Dark Knight, when all these people are getting wiped out by Joker, because the longer Batman takes to take off his mask, you know, people are dying. So it kind of felt a little bit like that, and ironically they're both detectives, and because of that was also a lot more tragedy that happens. It adds on to the tragedy, which in turn affects the hero of our story. So it makes that all is lost moment just a lot more deeper, just a lot more impactful. I will say that the mystery is not as difficult as in the first film. You can actually rule out everyone except about, I believe, 4 characters that are involved in a certain situation, and only 4 of these characters know where a certain weapon is. I'm not gonna say too much, I don't want to spoil it, but you can pretty much rule everyone else out of the suspect list. But even though it was more obvious in the first one, I enjoy this one more just because it was a little more relatable, a little bit more tragic, and it's something that it felt a lot more human because it dealt with some elements that when it comes to love, when it comes to divorce, when it comes to rejection, anything around that negative field, we as human beings were able to relate to that. So it was a lot much better film, and that is why I will say that Death on the Nile is worth having a movie night. Alright, so Death on the Nile, if you've seen it or if you're gonna go see it, I want to know from you guys. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer Murder on the Orient Express or Death on the Nile? Do you think there's going to be a third film? Go ahead and let me know your opinions in the comment section. If you like this video, smash that like button, smash the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep watching this channel and keep watching movies.